So the Brookings Institute just put out a report on how much it costs to raise a child from the day they are born to the day they turn 18, adjusted for current inflation rates. And y'all are not ready. $310,605. That is what it costs to raise a child for 18 years, excluding college tuition, childcare, and tariffs. Took a look at the full report and I took notes. 2017, the USDA estimated that the total cost of raising a child born in 2015 until 2032, so that's when they turn 18, would be $233,610. It's been 8 years since that report was done, and they are now estimating that it costs an additional $76,995. Once again, that's for a child born in 2015. That is not for a child born in 2025. That is not for a child born in 2022. Basically, if you had a kid in the last 5 years, or you're planning to have a kid in the next 5 years, just know you're going to be looking at a price tag much higher than that $310,000, because the cost rises every single year. 2025, you're going to be spending almost $18,000 to be raising your kid. By the time 2032 rolls around, that number has jumped to $24,850. This is why I'm not having kids. And if you are having kids, you need to be thinking about the next 18 years and how much that's going to cost. Are you going to have an extra $25,000 in 2032?
So I just had a baby 3 weeks ago, and I knew that the cost of having a child in United States is absolutely outrageous, but I didn't expect it to be this bad. Today I got my hospital bill in mail, so let's break it down. But just to give you a quick introduction, I did end up having a C-section that wasn't planned, but it wasn't also an emergency. During my 37th appointment, my fluid was low and the baby was breached, so the doctors have decided that the safest way to deliver the baby is via C-section. Well, after the C-section, the baby was in the NICU for 4 days, so let's break down all the costs. Some of the things that are listed here, I have absolutely no clue what they are, so I have to trust that they actually put the things that they did in the hospital. $196.18 for electric breast pumps, which they did lend me those in the hospital so I can pump for the baby when he was in the NICU. Disposable collection and ST, no clue, $78. Culture screen only, $184.03. OB US limited fetus, $482. OBUS 14 weeks single fetus, $411. Now is where the fun begins. Cesarean delivery, $8,947. Extraction of products O, which I don't know if that's extracting the baby or what is that, $43,599. X-ray exam chest for the baby, $176. Whole bunch of charges that I think are baby's labs, $194.97. This I think is only one of the 4 days of baby stay in the NICU. $4,666. The most expensive hotel in United States. His hearing test that came out to be $1,853. Twice did they charge me for each ear. And lastly on this bill, assistance with respiratory ventilator that the baby had to be on, $30,184. That was only the hospital bill, and then on top of that we also got the doctor's bill for the doctors that took care of him in the NICU. That came out to be $20,123. All of that combined comes to the grand total of $125,641.69. Of course, I do have insurance that covers majority of it, but those prices are out of this world.
This is how much it costs to give birth in America. $44,318.41. I had my little guy 3 weeks ago, so they definitely wasted no time sending me that bill. I had a vaginal birth with epidural, no complications, and I was in the hospital for about 2 days. So I'm gonna break everything down for you guys and show you guys how much everything costs and how much my insurance did cover. A private 1-bed room and board was $10,100. Pharmacy was $89.40. Laboratory was was $859. My epidural was $1,845. Labor room and delivery was $10,275. Specialty services was $585, and then other services was $1,347. And that's just one bill. We have multiple bills to go through, guys. So my insurance did cover $20,353.62. And then I also still have to pay my doctor who delivered my baby. So that was $4,395.85. And that's with insurance already. I'm not sure exactly how much it would have been without insurance. And I did get another like epidural bill, and this is just for the doctor, not the epidural itself. And that is $2,060.86. And then lastly, baby boy also gets a bill too, and his bill is $12,761.30, and this is without insurance. We're still waiting for him to process on our insurance, so for now this is the cost without it. And if you're curious on how much we pay for insurance for our family of 5 now, it's $2,500 a month. We originally were paying $2,138.48 for just the 4 of us, but other than that, that is how much it costs to give birth in America. Crazy.
You know, one thing that really has my brain discombobulated is the fact that you Americans have to pay to have a baby. Like, cash money. It's not even just a baby. You guys have to pay for anything medical. In America, it costs 10 to 30 grand. That's a whole number plus 4 zeros on top. Are you taking the mickey? What's going on there? So imagine you don't have the money. Now what? You pop out the baby and they say, we're gonna hold it until you pay the funds. Certain men are having babies and going straight into debt. What's that? Imagine now you have twins and you don't even know you're having twins. 60 grand? Oh, you must be skedaddles. You must be crazy. You think I'm gonna cough up money to have a child? America, fix up. There's something very wrong there. It's not making any sense.
I'm not having kids. But I ran the numbers. The total might shock you. 70% of Americans say raising a child is unaffordable, and here's why. Birth, $20K. IVF, if you need it, $50K. And most people need more than one round. Childcare, $30K a year for the first 5 years. Birth to 18 is $414,000, and that is before college. And if you're a mom, expect to earn $600,000 less than your male counterparts over your career. That's not a baby. That's $1 million decision. Part 2 is how you actually financially plan for it. Follow.
Good news! It now takes $400,000 a year to afford a 2-child household. So if you want to nut and make it count, you better hold it in. Cause no fucking way you'll be able to afford a family anytime soon. And you know, it's really interesting because when you teach an entire generation that anything is possible with enough hard work, and then you proceed to build an economic system that is specifically rigged against the hardest working people on the fucking planet, tell me, how is widespread anxiety, depression, loneliness not a result of that? Can anyone tell me?
Just wait for the trickle? Wait for it to trickle down onto me, onto you, onto our body? Just wait? All right, bet.
Why is nobody having kids? Why is nobody having kids? Hey, so let me tell you, I'm Gen Z. We can't afford it. We can't afford children. And I don't know about y'all, but I grew up in the rural South, right? Hearing older conservatives, boomers, constantly say things like, don't have kids you can't afford. And like calling people welfare queens, and shaming lower income families like it was the worst kind of moral failure. And I think a lot of us, we saw that, we heard it, and we internalized it. And now it's 2026 and everything is at an all-time high, right? Like groceries are at an all-time high, gas is at an all-time high, childcare is completely unaffordable, healthcare, don't even get me started on that. And then a few months ago, there was talk about a $5,000 credit for having a child, right? And I need people to really sit with that for a second, because $5,000 doesn't even cover a hospital bill for childbirth in most places, let alone diapers and formula and childcare and like, I don't know, the next 18 years of life. And then on top of that, you've got housing, because apparently now you have to practically sell your soul just to get a mortgage. And what's really interesting is every young parent I talk to, they say like the same thing, right? Like that village that we all thought we were going to have, it doesn't exist. It's not there. Everybody loves a baby. Nobody cares about a toddler. That's what I've heard. And still, every headline is like, birth rates are at an all-time low. Like, why is nobody having kids? And instead of making life actually affordable again, so people feel like comfortable having children, adding another mouth to feed in this whole equation, the government thought the solution was a one-time $5,000 check. I'm sorry if anybody fell for that. If anyone saw that and they were like, oh, thank God, this fixes everything. Don't have kids. Shouldn't be having kids in the first place. Oh my God. But yeah, that's why we can't afford to have kids. I can barely afford my cats.
Financially, when is the best time to have a baby? I feel like this is pretty common for couples to think about before they start trying is, are we ready financially to bring a baby into the world? Because yes, it is kind of expensive. So I wanted to talk about today just an overall average, if you live in the United States, of what the first year looks like financially after you have a baby. Of course, this is just a very rough estimate. There are so many factors when it comes to what things cost for literally every single family. But a couple upfront fees. So of course you're gonna have to deliver the baby. And if you deliver in a hospital in the United States, the average person with insurance is going to spend around $2,800 out of pocket. So again, this means you have insurance, and this doesn't mean that your baby went to the NICU or you had a C-section. There could be so many things that will make this number go up and be a lot more expensive, but that's just kind of the rough estimate. For example, I had a pretty crappy insurance the time that I delivered my baby, and we ended up paying a little over $5,000 out of pocket. The next thing that you need to consider is all of the necessities for a baby. Your baby needs a crib. You need a car seat. You probably need a stroller. And nowadays, there's so many baby gadgets out there, pumps and baby carriers. A lot of moms are going to want these extra things. So you can roughly estimate $2,000 to $3,000 just for all of baby necessities and needs. And of course, you'll have a baby shower and maybe you have parents that will help you, but that's a rough estimate. Okay, so now let's talk about ongoing monthly cost of things. So for childcare in the United States, you can expect to spend between $1,500 to $3,000 a month on daycare. Again, totally depends on what state you're in. This is just the average. Of course, if you're a stay-at-home mom, this will be free. If you choose to use formula for your baby, that's going to cost anywhere between $100 to $300 a month. Again, if you breastfeed, it's going to be free. Highly recommend you do that. Diapers are running families between $80 to $100 a month. There are so many different diaper brands out there. I know there are some really, really affordable ones, and there's some really, really expensive ones. And then there's also just miscellaneous things that you're going to buy for your baby every month. If your baby needs a new onesie, if they need some lotion or body wash, just like random stuff, you're going to be buying stuff every single month for your baby, and that's running people roughly $100 a month. Another thing to keep in mind is adding a baby to your insurance plan. This might make your family plan go up, or maybe you have to start a family insurance plan, which is usually a lot more expensive. So that's something to keep in mind too. You might be paying a few hundred extra dollars a month for insurance. So on average in the United States, for people to have a baby, their first year you can expect to pay between $20,000 to $50,000. And all of this, again, totally depends on things. Everyone's going to be different, but that's the rough estimate of how much you're going to spend. So keep that in mind if you're trying for a baby. Do you have that cushion? Do you have enough money to be able to get your baby necessities? Are you struggling every month to pay for groceries and for rent? If you are, you might want to hold off until you're in a better place. I mean, the world, as we all know, is so expensive today. And of course, people are going to get pregnant by surprise out of the blue, and maybe you weren't ready financially to have a baby, but it just happens. There are resources for you, okay? I'm not saying all this to try to scare anyone. There are resources out there to help people who need it with babies, okay? We want our babies to be fed and safe, but if you're just someone who's maybe planning on having a baby,
keep this number in mind. I mean, it's not cheap. You might want to have like a cushion of your like 3 to 6 months of your living expenses saved, because at the end of the day, you want to make sure that you can pay for your rent or for your mortgage, you can pay for food on the table, and you can pay for anything that baby needs every month and not really have to think about it, you know? So if you are planning to have a baby and you're wondering financially, what is this going to cost? This is just a rough general idea of what you can expect.
How much does that actually cost to raise a kid in 2026? Let's find out. So last year's estimate was around $298,000 to raise a child from birth to age 18. This year, for the first time ever, that estimated total cost has now surpassed $300,000, reflecting around a 2% increase, which is insane. So how much does that look like annually? Well, it's around $16,900 a year, or roughly $1,400 every month for 18 years. Yeah. Start saving up. 3 things you should know. Number 1, the first 5 years are by far the most expensive, averaging around $30,000 a year because of things like daycare. Number 2, the most expensive states to raise a kid are Hawaii, Alaska, Maryland, and of course, California. And number 3, these estimates don't even include things like pregnancy, childbirth, and college. So the true cost is probably actually a bit higher, unfortunately. And very quickly, these numbers do come from a 2026 lending tree analysis, which uses multiple government and nonprofit data sources, which I did check, so don't come for me. I'll be making more videos about things I find interesting moving forward, so follow along and I'll see you for the next one.
People are trying to raise the birth rate, but I went on Facebook and saw somebody that I went to high school with, and she was saying how much she spends every month on 3 days of childcare for her 3 children. Guess how much it is? $3,600 a month for not even full-time childcare. Like, this is 3 days a week childcare. Me and my boyfriend, we're like pretty sure we're not gonna have kids, and like this is a big reason why. $3,600? That's more than our rent payment combined. And we live in Seattle. $3,600 a month? No, because that's literally insane. Like, that's actual insanity. And a bunch of people in the comments are like literally blaming liberals for this. Why the fuck are you blaming liberals? We're the ones who are trying to get like paid family leave and affordable childcare. Like, don't blame us for this. Blame